sit inside on Zoom, but thank you all. We have an hour today to go through our information session, and I'm going to start it off with a poll. So I'd like to open up the poll just now and just find out a little bit about who our group is today, and then we'll get started on our presentations. So you should see some questions pop up there. And it would be great to see your answers. I can see your answers coming in, so that's fab. I'll give everyone a few minutes and then we will let's check what the answers are. Okie dokie, I think that's most of you there. Okay, I'll end the poll. Don't worry if you didn't get time to answer. These are just questions for our interest, to know who everyone is today and what stage you're all at. So we have loads of PGTs with us today, which is great, and a few postgraduate researchers, and we've got no undergrads with us unless there's a few just joining us from the waiting room. When we asked if you're considering working after your studies, we've got lots of people definitely planning on working in the UK, and a few people maybe planning on working in the UK, and just 1% haven't decided yet. So that's, again, really helpful to know. Thank you. And then we have most of our audience in the UK today, and a couple of you at home or in a third country as well. I've asked that question really related to the graduate route part of today's session, and you'll see why when I come to speak. Okay, thank you very much, everyone, and we'll get started. And I'm really glad to be joined today by Gail, who's the Careers Manager in the Business School, and Gail's going to start our first session today, and then I'll speak a little bit about the graduate route. So thank you, Gail.
Thank you, Jill, and welcome everyone. It's very nice to meet you all. So as Jill says, my name is Gail Angus and I am one of the careers managers here at the university, and I work over in the Adam Smith Business School. So if we have any business school students with us, you might already know my name. I am our school's careers manager, and I also manage our student experience team over in the business school as well. So in the first part of the session, I'm just going to share my screen and start up my slides. There's three kind of key things that I'm going to focus on today. So first of all, I'm going to talk a little bit about generally just graduate recruitment in the UK, and we'll talk about some of the sort of timescales, types of vacancies that you might see. We'll then go through and talk a little bit more about job search strategies and some of the things that you should consider when you're job searching here in the UK. And then we are going to finish with talking about some of the stuff that the Career Service offer and how you can access that as well. And we will actually talk a little bit about the Career Service as we go through today's session. Then I'm going to pass over to Jill, who's going to talk to you a little bit more about the visas and the new route. And Jill and I will be happy to sort of take your questions, and we should hopefully have some time for questions at the end as well. If you have questions as we're going through, if you want to pop them in the chat, then we can just make sure we're keeping an eye on answering those where we can as well. Okay, so without further ado, I'm going to start talking about some of the sort of key terminology that you might hear when you're thinking about applying for jobs here in the UK. So when you're on campus, you might come across recruiters, or you might have already found people talking about graduate recruitment schemes. Graduate recruitment schemes are quite often advertised on campus by large employers, as this is the formal sort of terminology that large employers use for a method of recruiting people from university into programs. You may have something similar where in your home country. Graduate recruitment schemes here in the UK usually last from 1 to 3 years. They are paid jobs, and there are as I said, large employers do tend to come onto campus to promote these to students. One of the things that might be slightly different from your home country is that a large number of these graduate recruitment schemes are actually open to any degree discipline. So for example, if you wanted to apply to PwC and become an accountant, you could be studying history or engineering or law. They don't mind, they really don't mind. So those programs are open to graduates from any degree discipline. So if you did want to, found that you potentially weren't wanting to continue with your subject of choice and wanted to use your transferable skills, then you could look at graduate programs in a range of different disciplines. So mainly the programs in the sort of business area are open to any degree discipline as well. The peak recruitment time for graduate programs or graduate schemes is September to December, but there are still some open for starting this year. Some companies do still recruit year round, so it is still worth looking, and I'll show you some sites that you can look on afterwards as well. But if you are thinking of starting after your degree, in September this year, the graduate programs will reopen for a start for next summer again. Most of you are postgraduate students, and it is worth noting that when you're looking at some of these graduate recruitment programs or graduate schemes, employers will note that you have to have minimum grades in your undergraduate degree, because in the UK market it is usual that both undergrads and postgrads are directed to the same graduate programs. There's not always a distinct route for postgraduates. And again, that will vary depending on what type of role it is that you're kind of going in, what industry, but it's common that big graduate schemes are mainly the minimum requirement is an undergrad, but it still does mean that you can apply as a postgraduate to that. Now, although graduate schemes are very heavily promoted on campus, they're definitely not the only route and the only way that you can apply for jobs here in the UK as a student graduating from university. And actually, for some of you, depending on the area that you are, there may not be actually a lot of graduate programs. So for example, if you are an arts student, there's not typically loads of large employers with graduate schemes in that sort of sector. So you wouldn't necessarily be looking for a formal sort of graduate program. Large numbers of our graduates in the university actually go into work for small to medium enterprises. So there's lots of different opportunities out there with normal organisations where you can match your skills and experience to the opportunities that are out there. Some of you may be joining us from a postgrad where you already have some experience in the sector that you're applying to. If you have 2-3 years experience already, then you may not be applying for a graduate training program. You might be applying for what we would classify as an experienced hire route rather than a graduate training program, because you already have that work experience to sort of apply for that as well. So again, it's about matching your skills and experiences to jobs that actually exist out there as well. For some of you, self-employment might be an option that you're exploring. And if that is an option, then we do have a student enterprise team within the university who you can reach out to and seek advice from. Some of you may be thinking about further study and going on to do a research degree here at the university or another university. Some of you might be taking some well-earned time out after your master's degree, or there may be other options on the horizon as well. So the graduate programs aren't the only option, although they are, I guess, overrepresented on the university campus in terms of employers that we see here. So how does graduate recruitment work here in the UK then? It is quite common that recruitment processes will start online these days, with employers asking you to complete either an online application or to do upload a copy of a resume and a cover letter. That's normally the first step of the process. With an online application, there are some things as international students that you might be asked about. So for example, you may see with big graduate recruiters that they refer to a term called UCAS, UCAS, and that is referring to your school level qualifications. Here in the UK, people who apply through our high schools do their high school qualifications, which are transferred to UCAS points to get into university. So sometimes employers will refer to UCAS, and that is your school grades. So you might look out for that when you're applying for things on online application forms. So online application forms will generally ask you some information about your grades. Sometimes they will ask you some competency or skills-based questions on those as well, and they will sometimes ask motivational questions. They really do vary from sector to sector, the level of detail that you have to put on an online application form. Other common selection methods that are used here in the UK, psychometric tests are very popular, where an employer will ask you to do either a numerical test. Situational judgment tests are quite common, and those are tests where you will be asked, you'll be given a few scenarios and you have to select what you're most likely to do and least likely to do in that scenario. Video interviews are very, very common in the early forms of recruitment at the moment. They're becoming more popular, where you will answer some questions that an employer puts to you, and then they will review that video interview. Assessment centres are very common, mainly taking place online these days, as are a sort of final interview stage, and often you will go through that whole process if it's a larger recruiter. This, for example, survey here is from the Institute of Student Employers, who are a professional body who represent most of the large employers in the UK. And they have asked, they asked a couple of years ago, which of these recruitment methods would employers be using in 2019-20? So you can see, for example, that over 50% are using psychometric tests, CV screening, assessment centres and interviews. Online assessment centre interviews, face-to-face and interviews with an interviewer again were the most common methods that those larger recruiters were using to assess. The great news is that the career service can help you at each stage of that process, and I'll show you in a second how we help with that. So here's some examples from some companies just to show you the sort of process. So Accenture, again, a large sort of graduate recruiter, have their online application first of all, where you complete a detailed online profile. You then do a discovery profile, which is completing a series of short assessments and questions. You'll then do a virtual assessment online, and then you'll have a final interview. Diageo, who are a drinks and alcohol brand, they have an online application to check your eligibility. They then use gamification, which is a newer thing that some large employers are using, where you'll have to do some online games to test your attributes. They'll do a video interview. This company HireView is quite commonly used in video interviews. Again, it's something that will take around 30 minutes, and they'll ask you some common questions, and then you'll do a virtual assessment centre. And NatWest, the finance company, my screen's skewed at the top here, but I believe this is an application. Here, you'll do an online assessment, and then you'll do a video interview with an assessment centre as well. So let's then go on to talk about how you actually should think about approaching your job search here in the UK. And these are some of my sort of top tips going through. I'll identify, I think, 6 steps that we have that you could consider, and I'll mention areas of where the careers service can help. So first of all, the first step, I would start to think about areas of work and what it is that you actually want to do. That will help you to narrow down where to search. And it also will help you to focus your job search on companies that you're really interested in as well. So start to think about potentially job titles that you're interested in, sectors or companies that you actually want to work for as well. And that can help you to, again, focus in your job search and make your job search a lot more strategic. If you're really not sure the answer to these questions, then the Careers Service run a few online courses. We have one that's called the Career Accelerator Explore, which helps you to go through the process of planning your career and come up with some career ideas. So if you don't know where you're actually going to start your job search or don't know what it is that you actually want to do, I would recommend actually as a first step taking this course to help you to actually narrow down and think about who you're actually going to target and apply for in your job search. So once you've actually clearly got identified what you're actually going to apply for, the types of companies, the types of sector, potentially some of the sort of job titles that you're going to go through, start to think about getting prepared for your job search as well. We've just looked at the process of the application process that can be quite long. So preparing for that application process and making sure that when you get invited to interviews that you know how you're going to perform can be really useful. So again, we have another online course called the Career Accelerator Apply, which helps you look at all those application stages and get prepared for it. And in the Careers Service, we also run a series of master classes on all the key topics that I mentioned are part of the application process. They're 1 hour masterclasses and they run weekly. Our schedule will be updated for the summer. So just keep an eye if there's one that you're interested in that isn't available at the moment. But if you go onto our website, the link at the bottom there, and I will share these slides with Jill, who can send them out to you. You can click on that and have a look at the masterclasses that are coming up. So just get yourself prepared as part of this process and make sure that you are ready for that process when it comes time to interviews and assessment centres as well. We actually do have an advice week coming up on the 30th of May to the 1st of June, which is specifically for students who are going to be graduating this year. There's going to be a series of workshops and guest speakers to help you get ready for the world of work. So keep that date free in your diary, and we will also be hosting various different things kind of going on. We'll even be taking over the university's Instagram actually the week after on the 6th of June. So from the 30th of May to the 1st of June, we're having Graduate Advice Week. We'll do lots of events that week to help you get prepared for graduating. So if you want to fast track it a little bit, keep those sorts of dates in your diary and we'll do a lot of different events throughout that period of time. Now I'm going to stop sharing here and actually go over and share the Career Service website and show you some of the different places that you might want to actually look for jobs. So if I just share this screen. So this is the Career Service website, which is the first place I'd recommend going to when you're actually starting to search for your job. So the web address is just glasgow.ac.uk/careers. You don't need to necessarily put that My Glasgow part on. You'll reach this website, just glasgow.ac.uk/careers. So down the left-hand side here, you will actually see that there is sections to help you with all the sort of aspects of your career, but there is one that's actually called Finding Jobs and Work Experience. And when you land here, there's lots of tools and things that can help you to actually search for jobs. So the two things at the top that I will highlight to you just now is that the university has its own internship hub, which advertises exclusive paid internships for University of Glasgow students. And then we also have a student job hub, which advertises part-time jobs. So if you are looking for something more temporary just now, then these two things are here available for you. But we also have a range of different tabs here which help you to look for jobs. And this one I'm going to show you just now is our job searching guide to help you to look at where to actually search for jobs. So online is obviously the key place that I would suggest looking for jobs first of all. And at Glasgow, we actually have our very own job portal. It's a one-stop shop actually where you can utilise everything that we have in the Career Service. You can book our events, you can sign up for our master classes, and you can search for jobs as well. So you just need to log into Glasgow Careers using your GUID. You will find it here under our job search section and also is on our homepage as well, where you can log into Glasgow Careers. So Glasgow Careers advertises graduate jobs, it advertises internships, volunteering opportunities in both the UK and abroad as well. And we have new vacancies added to it daily, so it's always worth registering and checking on those vacancies as well. If you do have a clear idea, so you've done step one and you know exactly what it is that you actually want to look for, Prospects is a really good site that I would recommend that has this tool called an A to Z, which helps you to look at and find out more about jobs. So say, for example, that you wanted to actually be an actuary. This website not only tells you a little bit about what actuaries are, what salary you should expect here in the UK, what typical working hours, but if you scroll down, you will actually find some links to useful resources. So for example, if you wanted to be an actuary and work in that area, then there is a directory of actuarial employers that has a list of companies that you can have a look at as well. You will also find down in this employer section some useful links to job search sites for your sector. So Prospect's website is very good for helping you for searching for jobs in your specific area. So just scroll down and you'll see that section of employers, and it'll have links to where the best place to look at for jobs in that sort of area are. Then go back to the careers service site. General graduate recruitment sites. Prospects, which I just showed you, actually has a job search as well. Target Jobs is one of the biggest recruitment sites for graduate roles, those graduate schemes that I mentioned in the UK. It also has lots of really good advice pages, so I would definitely recommend that. Employability is an organisation that supports students who have a disability or disabled students or graduates and supports them. Gradscracker is a good site for STEM students, and then you can have a look around at other sort of sectors as well. I won't go through every single one at the moment, but Glasgow Careers, Prospects and Target Jobs are the three kind of top ones that I would recommend having a little look at. It does also mention here careers fairs, and if you have a look on our events pages, you will actually see that there is a Scottish graduate recruitment fair coming up, I think in the next week or so, so do keep an eye on our events pages. It is definitely coming up this month, the Scottish Graduate Recruitment Fair, so if you do want to look for jobs, then that can be a way that you can actually reach out and speak to employers at the Scottish Graduate Recruitment Fair. Okay, so back to things. So that's where I would recommend going now. Once you've got your strategy, you're feeling quite prepared, having a look at all those advertised jobs and considering where you're actually going to apply. So Prospects, Target Jobs, Glasgow Careers are all good places to get started with your actual job search itself. And that section of our website has lots more links for you to explore there to actually look for job vacancies. Also thinking about using your network or building your network as well. There is obviously, when you're looking for vacancies, we're talking about there that there's advertised vacancies, but you could also explore sort of hidden opportunities or be open to more opportunities by exploring your networks. So think about how you connect with people, let people know that you're job searching in your networks. You may actually consider just now that you don't have a massive network, but everybody has some network. You've got students that are in your class, lecturers, friends, family. A few years ago, when I was running my online course with my postgraduate students, I ask students to do an exercise where they go and have an informational conversation with someone about the sector that they're interested in. And one of the students in the class was really interested in accountancy, but she thought, I actually don't know anyone who works in accountancy, so I don't know who to have for conversation. So she was talking to her mother about the task that we'd sat them, and her mum actually just happened to say, well, there's actually somebody in my work who used to work for one of the big 4 accountancy firms. So actually just by speaking to her family member, she was able to have a conversation with the person who worked with her mother, who actually ended up putting her in touch with people at a big 4 firm to kind of give her information and support her for her job search as well. So do think about your actual current network who can not just offer you roles, but can potentially give you information, help to prepare you and connect you. LinkedIn is a fantastic platform. If you don't already have a LinkedIn profile, I would highly recommend setting one up. We have a fantastic pool of alumni at Glasgow that you can access through LinkedIn. The Career Service actually run workshops on using LinkedIn for your job search, and the next one's coming up in a month's time on the 13th of June. through our masterclasses. So you can utilize tools like LinkedIn to reach out to your alumni, to build your network and keep yourself up to date with opportunities that may be coming up. Okay, so you've applied through advertised vacancies, you've built your network and told everyone that you're job searching, so you've got a pool of people who are going to help you as well. The fifth thing I'd really recommend that you do is keeping track of your job search. You will likely be applying for quite a few jobs as you're kind of looking for work here in the UK. So when you're actually applying for stuff, keep a copy of the job advert and keep a copy of your application. Often after the closing date, the job advert will disappear. And if you get invited to interview, the job advert is going to give you the biggest clues of what you're going to be asked in interview. So make sure you keep a very good record of it. Potentially either whatever tool you prefer, whether you prefer it written down, whether you want to keep a document on your computer, note down what you've applied to, when the closing date is, if they have any information about it, when interviews are, and if you're unsuccessful, start noting what stage you're being unsuccessful at. Again, it is something that the Career Service can support through either a masterclass programme or our career coaching. If you are finding that you're particularly unsuccessful at a certain stage in the application process, then we can support you in that. So for example, if you are finding that you are unsuccessful in psychometric tests, we have psychometric test workshops at the Career Service, but we also on our website have a free psychometric test practice tool that you can use as well to practice psychometric tests. So really keep track of that application process as well. And finally, you will potentially, if you do really, really want to work here in the UK, need to think about your sort of plan B. So your plan A may be that you've identified your dream company and your dream role, and that's exactly what you want to do. But think about your plan B and potentially maybe a slight pivot. So maybe it's the sector. So you might want to do you could do that same role, but in another sector. So for example, I've been talking just about accountancy. Perhaps it's that you really want to be an accountant for a Big Four, but you hadn't been successful in that process. So maybe thinking about, well, how else can you qualify as an accountant, looking at other organisations where you can do your accountancy training and looking at in a different sort of sector. It may be that you do need to think of your backup job role, and that could be something which utilises the same sort of skills and experience that you have. It could be something else that uses the sort of passions that you have as well. So you may, again, just want to do a bit of reflection and think about, if you're unsuccessful in your plan A, what is your B? It may be that you're looking at gaining some experience through a sort of entry level opportunity. So perhaps you're thinking that you're being rejected in a lot of applications because of the competition, and you need to build some of your experiences up a little bit more because you're not having enough to talk about at interview. So you could potentially look at either entry-level roles within the organisation that you want to work in, or something that will build your skills and experience within that that you're lacking for the actual job role itself. Some people will also look at kind of thinking about skills development rather than going straight into their job. Maybe it's short courses, volunteering opportunities that you take on as your plan B. Or it may be that some of you do want to do some further education in the area that you're interested in, again, through either a short course, or some of you may go on and study further to PhD level as well. So those are the sort of 5 key steps, which I'll just reflect on again quickly. So when we're thinking about the process, we have identify your areas of work, get prepared, look at your advertised jobs, use your networks, keep track of your job searching, and then think of your plan B if you're unsuccessful in that sort of process. So the Career Service is here to support you in each step that I've spoke about. There is advice and support. If it's your first time accessing the Career Service, what I would really recommend is using our website and also thinking about our masterclasses as well. As I said, they run regularly, and you can come along to as many of those as you want to help you get prepared for your future. We also do run a range of employer workshops. There's a huge range of topics. We add to them all the time, so do keep an eye on our website. Employers are running them mainly virtually at the moment, but we do still have some that are occasionally on campus as well. So keep an eye on the employer workshops coming up. Our careers and employability education. So we have the Career Accelerator Explore and Apply. We also have a YouTube channel full of video tutorials, short video tutorials, and we have a blog on the website. And you can actually access career coaching one-to-one with a careers manager as well, tailored to your needs. But I would always recommend that at a point where you can't progress any further on your own, so you've accessed all the other tools, because that's what will direct you to in the first place, is some of these other sorts of things that are actually available for you to access as well. So I'm going to stop sharing just now and check. I don't think there's been anything in the chat at the moment. Jill, are you wanting to come in just now and then we'll take questions, or do you want me to take some questions just now?
Yeah, sure. We've had a few questions that have come direct to me. So I think what we'll do is I'm going to start my presentation and then we'll come back to questions at the end, if that's okay, everyone.
Yep.
And then I can have a look and see. If you want to submit a question, just submit it to everyone in the room and then Gail will be able to see it too. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen now, and you can let me know with a thumbs up if you can see this. There we go, and then I'll just make it big. Okay, fantastic. Hope you can all see that okay. Let me know if you have any troubles in the chat. My part of today's presentation is going to be talking about the graduate route, and I know that some of you probably know maybe quite a fair bit about the graduate route. There might be some of you here today who are really coming to this topic for the very first time, so I thought it might be helpful to give a quick introduction to the graduate route today for everyone to either refresh your memories or to come to it to the first time. What we're going to cover in the session is, and we've just about half an hour to talk through the background, how did the graduate route come about. I'll talk about the application requirements that you need to know about and where to look for more information, because obviously in half an hour we can't cover everything. So kind of recommended sources for further research. And at the end of the session, I can take some questions about the application procedure. What we can't cover today are questions about individual advice. So for example, this is my situation, this is my course, this is my type of visa, what should I do? That's advice, and that should come to us either via email or in an appointment, which you're very welcome to book. I would be a terrible international student advisor if I did not remind you all that immigration rules, the immigration guidance and the forms and the fees do change very regularly. So please do always check back to the source, check back to the gov.uk web pages for the most up-to-date information. We're not going to have time, I'm afraid, to cover the full details of the route. I'm not going to cover questions on the application form or detailed application details about dependents. And as I said, I won't cover questions that are really individual advice. But I hope we will get a useful summary. So what is the graduate route? And we'll talk about some of the kind of starter bits of information you need to know about it. This is an immigration route that is especially for, hopefully, all of you, student visa holders or Tier 4 visa holders who have successfully completed what's called an eligible course at what's called an HEP with a track record of compliance. Now, what you need to know about that is University of Glasgow is an HEP with a track record of compliance. We'll talk about courses later. The graduate route gives applicants the opportunity to apply for the graduate route visa after they've successfully completed their course, to then stay on in the UK to live and work or to look for work. You don't need to have a job offer before you apply for the graduate route. You also don't need to have a sponsor to apply for the graduate route. So in the same way that your student or your Tier 4 visa is sponsored by the university, so it issued you the CAS for your visa application to sponsor you, you do not need a CAS or a CAUS to have been received from an employer or a university to apply for this route. You will, however, need your old CAS that you got from the university that you used to get your current student visa or your current Tier 4 visa. So maybe a bit of searching back in your emails to look for that if it's been a couple of years, for example. Let us know if you get stuck with that, anybody. Now, a really important point, and I was glad to see that so many of you in the session today were in the UK already, because graduate applications can only be made from inside the UK. There's no option to apply for entry clearance from outside of the UK under the graduate route. Now, I won't talk too much about this timeline. This was kind of a bit more interesting before the graduate route had launched, and we talked about all the different stages and all the different bits of information that had come out since it was announced in September 2019 that the graduate route would was proposed or would exist. So I know that some of you might have been reading and researching about the graduate route since September 2019, and some of you might not know so much about it. So really all I'll say about this slide is that it launched on the 1st of July last year. That was the very first day that the graduate route was launched. So we haven't had a full year yet of the graduate route, but nearly. Now, what does it provide? What does the visa provide? Well, the graduate route offers 3 years permission, and when I say permission, I mean visa. You sometimes hear the word permission, you sometimes hear the word leave, but what we're talking about is time on your visa. For students who apply having successfully completed a PhD qualification, and for students who apply having successfully completed an undergraduate degree or a master's degree, the graduate route offers 2 years permission. Now, the graduate route is a one-off grant of permission, so that's just another way of saying that you can only get it once in your life. And it's also not possible to extend your visa. So the visa that you're granted, whether it's the 3 years or the 2 years, depending on your qualification, that is the visa that you get. You can't extend it for a longer time. Now, the graduate route visa allows visa holders to work or look for work, as I said, at any skill level during the length of the graduate route visa. And it allows graduate route visa holders to be self-employed or to do voluntary work. But the only type of work that's not permitted under the graduate route is work as a professional sports person. Now, I've got the next slide ready and prepared, and for those of you who are keen-eyed watchers of the gov.uk website, you will know that the application fee has just been increased a little bit to £715. You need to prepare a new visa application under the graduate route and pay the fee, and I'm afraid as well as the application fee, there is an IHS fee to be paid